They're compensating kind of better though. Definitely, you know, when everyone's doing better. Okay. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Green Space Commission meeting, June 3rd. Ginger, will you do a roll call for us? We are everyone being recorded for future reference.
We don't have anybody.
No one is online right now.
Okay, so Carrie Coyne,
Here,
Ginger Ear, here's Emily Horton, here's Jeannie Flexner, here, Liz James, we don't know yet. Laura Jordan, here, Joe Olkey,
Here.
Jerry. Corner Purcell.
I'm here.
Jerry, Emily.
Barry just got here.
Oh. Hello, Jerry.
Hi.
I'll got you down. Okay, Emily, Sim, Shepherds, anybody? Okay, and Yvonne, here.
all right. Thank you, and we don't have any visitors this evening, so there are no visitor comments. So we'll jump right into old business. And Green Our City update is our first item of old business.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, gosh, thank you. That's right here. Sorry. I skipped number 3, approval of May minutes. Does anyone have any comments for the May minutes? Any additions?
I thought they were good, but I know, like.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve the May?
the minutes from May.
Seconded, okay, great. Now, still there are visitors and no visitor comments. So now we'll move on to old business. Green Our City updates, first item of old business. I don't have too much to update you guys on. Joe and I are still in the process of doing our inventories, just to double check, make sure all the trees came out of last spring, so that's a work in progress, but we did talk to, I mentioned this. At our last meeting, we've had a meeting with Public Works. Yvonne was there and that was a good meeting. And at that last meeting, we talked about extending the application date because we hadn't had too many people applying. Forgot what number we were at last time we were here, but it was low. And I was meant to get an update on the number of applications today, and I forgot to follow up on that. So I don't have an update on applicants, but the date is extended to June 16th. So please spread the word.
It's on the Friday page.
Good. There were several mentions in the Webster Kirkwood Times this past week. So that was good. We're still planning for our August 17th workshop. I know I'm still hoping that's on your schedule, Laura. I know it's on Joe's schedule, and if you guys, I guess, wanna let me know if you could be there, maybe you could email me that, just,
I'll let them.
if you've got it in your calendar, okay.
I'm planning to be there and I did apply since our last meeting.
I saw that, so I
Okay.
put you on the list,
All
so I
right.
appreciate that. But tell more neighbors.
I did.
Okay,
I sent an email.
Yeah, that's great. So I said, we met the day after you applied, it said, it's Jeannie on the list, and they said, yes. Joe, when do you think we need to get, should I just wait till June, whatever, to get June 16th, 17th to get the list? So like, when do you think we need that list of approved residents?
As soon as the deadline,
Okay,
just wait.
okay, and we have another meeting with them, coming up.
Not know the date.
I don't either. You don't have a date in your calendar per doc.
For the next,
It's sub BA meeting, yeah.
I think it is 12. At 1:30.
That's the, yeah, thank you. Do you think you're gonna be there for that?
I'll be there.
Anything else? Anybody have any questions? Did anybody see the stuff in the paper?
I did not.
I was looking. I haven't seen it.
Alright,
I know it.
well, maybe you can pass that around. Okay. The next item of old business is the Eco Ed series. And just a reminder that tomorrow night is the lecture at the library at 7. I need some volunteers to come at 6 and help set up. 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
Can anyone else come at 6?
Oh. I can come early, I'm not sure I can be there as
Yeah.
early as 6.
Okay. I just wanna, make sure we get chairs set up, and I'm gonna be focused on the group stuff, so I don't wanna be distracted from people. Okay,
I might be able to, we have a film after the meeting.
probably if Emily's coming,
Yeah, I'll be there.
and are you sure?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Put it on my calendar.
I'm single parent, so I can.
Alright,
I don't know that I have to be a parent, I think David is going, so I probably, I really want to, I haven't taken this family series in a while,
oh,
so.
well, I think she's gonna be good. But I think if Emily comes and if I'm there, then we should. It'd be great if you could come, but I think we can get it done.
Okay.
I'll bring a snack
Okay,
or a treat.
okay, and I'm gonna get there at 6 o'clock. Okay, 6 o'clock. And then we have 2 more, Eco Ed planned, one for September 3rd. 7 PM at the library, just a reminder for you guys, and they're gonna be going over the, greenhouse gas inventory report, basically that the Sustainability Commission has done. So that'll be interesting to hear and see what the cities could do, what the opportunities are. And then the last one for the season is the Watershed Wander in Larson Park on October 1st at 5:30. We're meeting at the Larson Park Pavilion. I'm definitely gonna be there to do introductions, but it'd be great. I don't think we're not gonna have tables set up, so we don't have to get there particularly early, but it'd be great if you guys could come. I think this will be a really good one with David Wilson.
That's a tree walk, right?
No, it's a watershed
Or
walk.
watershed walk,
Yeah,
5:30 on the 1st.
And then can I throw in a little thing that Tiffany related to the pollinator? So on June 8th, on Saturday, the garden club is going to do a rededication of Brewery Park. And let me just. I think the mayor's gonna be there. It's at 10 o'clock and it won't be more than 20 minutes. But at Ruby Park and Jerry, they really would like for you to be there. If you-
Yeah, can you say the time again?
Yes, at 10 o'clock on this Saturday.
I will be there.
It's looking great. So,
Yeah, it's
So,
looking really great, really good.
okay. All right, anything else about the Eco Ed series?
Did you wanna talk about the last one?
That October 1st one?
No, the one that happened?
Oh, the fast one, yes. Yes, I've already forgotten which one that was.
In Corkwood?
Yeah, and you went, right? Yeah, what did you think of that? So our last one was the first Tuesday of May.
It's the same as this month, it
Yeah.
was the night after our meeting.
Yeah, so Don Corrigan was there.
Yeah.
What you guys think?
Well,
he's always interesting. I mean, there's, you know, Don talks about his journey to, you know, talking about nature. And, but he really talked mostly about I mean, he was kind of all over the place, you know, I don't know if he had a prepared script. I don't think so.
I was
So-
looking forward to meeting him, having read his column, not meeting him,
Right.
but listening to him,
Yeah,
having read his column for years. And I did like his vibe, you know, that crusty, I've been doing this for decades.
right,
But I felt also that he was unprepared. And that what he did was show a slide of this problem and this problem and this problem and this problem. And I think the time would have been better used to say, here are 3 big problems, but I'm gonna talk about this one. And things we can do. It just felt overwhelming. The
Yeah, and then
magnitude of the problems.
you know, he didn't stop the questions at the end, which really would have been a great program, just the questions, if you know, throw out other things.
Well, he got an oddball question and he did handle it, he was like, I don't know what.
I know, that was
I don't know
great.
what you're asking. So he
Yeah.
kind of shut that, but that man monopolized.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cruising into social.
Compared to like the other guy who talked about your house, which was very informative, his slides were wonderful. And he had some that you can do this and you can do this. This one was just kind of.
Yeah.
And I thought it was
It's overcome.
in poor taste to mock southern rural Missourians in their accent and say, you know, I have dioxin for breakfast. It's like, you're just gonna only preach to the choir if you do that, and he did it twice. So I was disappointed, I could not give him a recommendation.
Well, you know, of course, he's been around a while. I would still, he was just up there.
Or maybe if he just had more specifics, tiny overview, but then get to something.
I think that's a great observation. I would tend to agree with some of that. I think that's why it's important for us to really vet our speakers that we invite to EcoVet, because we want to make sure that positive and sending good information out, because these are all, I think, everything we've talked about so far in the EcoEd series is things we want our neighbors to learn more about and care about and be educated about, so that we're all kind of working toward the same sustainable mindset that the city has. So, yeah, might
I
be
think
good
it would-
if you could help vet people in the future for the next series.
I think his talk would have been a good first class for a college level class. And then these are the problems that we're gonna talk about each of these in depth. But as an overview, it was just kind of overwhelming. I didn't know St. Louis had such a terrible track record that people come here to see all the wrong things in one spot.
We're not the only place like that. When I lived in Utah, I worked in medical research grant funding, and we were a very popular funding location because it's very clean living people in a very dirty environment. They've got a bunch of Superfund sites and really bad smog and pollution and everything, so you might not have it perfect in St. Louis, but you're by no means alone in trying to make things better.
Hey, Carrie,
Yeah,
I have a comment. I think it was the very first one that Linda and I did during the pandemic. You remember we kept delaying it, but it was James from Litzinger on the
Yeah.
bumblebees.
Mhm.
And he got real deep real quick into taxonomy, but it was, you know, it was a good overview on the 5 native bumblebees.
Mhm.
But you kind of never know what you're going to get, because he's come back and give other talks. So you know, sometimes, but I do think questions would have helped. You know, that way it kind of directs the discussion.
Yeah, I think having seen the presenter before and talk, you know, having experience listening to that person is sort of the best betting, and then talking through what they're gonna talk about ahead of time. So,
Yeah, I think that would be key, because I've been to other talks by him, he's great. But, it's not,
Maybe he was just off day.
it was.
And then
Yeah.
and then the one we did outdoor at Larson in the pavilion. It's oh, I can blanking on her name, from Missouri Natural Resources.
Aaron Shank.
Yeah. my-
Yeah,
one of my
well, we had a
coaches.
lot of,
But hers was so general. It was like almost too general. So, and she gives all kinds of talks. So sometimes it's hard for them to know the audience, and maybe we can help up front, kind of find out what they're going to do and direct it a little bit.
right, so you guys keep that in mind when we're starting to plan. If we help, which is another conversation, with the Eco-Ed series next year. Cause it's a task to put, that lineup together and get it marketed and get the communications out and working with the city, so, we split finding the speakers this year with, sustainability, so they found some speakers and we found some speakers. So it's just, it's gotta prepare. And it's a fair amount of effort to line that stuff up, so.
Yeah, the city of Shrewsbury is part of it too, remember that from Arbor Day, or Tree City USA. They wanted to collaborate.
Yeah, I have a friend who just did a TEDx St. Louis talk. I'm sure she would not, but she used to be, Kim used to be the head of the Sustainability Commission. But we could get her to come to the talk. It would be for us, wastewater treatment.
Might wanna email Karen Anderson with that suggestion. Do you have her contact information?
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be worthwhile to partner with sustainability on doing another tour of the recycle plant. It's really good because people have a lot of misconceptions about what really gets recycled. Most people are giving up. They're giving up like, well, they don't really recycle anyway, and I'm like, well, yes, they do.
And I know like in the city, at least my sisters run, like, they're not collecting recycling and it's like, it's all going in the trash.
Yeah.
So there are, like municipalities and cities too that even if they have like recycling.
It's not, yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to track it down.
We still are.
and see, yeah, as far as I know.
Well, I think if you guys have suggestions for Eco-Ed, maybe not just suggestions, but like that, it sounds like you went on a tour, so you might even have a contact with who did that tour or what that tour was like, or you could, like, if we could get a nugget of information, like my friend, so it's a, if you can get that information to me, I can forward that to Karen and see where that goes, but just the idea, like, gee, it would be nice to do an Eco-Ed talk on bee bricks. I just saw a story on that. That's kind of like,
Do we have an idea?
I thought for next year, we could have one focused on trees and talk about native and non-native trees and what's the difference and why does it matter? And lifespan of trees, that's related to my trees dying in my yard. So kind of selfish, and tree care do's and don'ts, like when's a good time to prune and when's not a good time. So I can email that to you, I typed it up.
yeah, why don't you email me that? And if you've heard any good speakers talk on that subject, that would be great. Some of that we do in our workshop for the Green Our City. Basically, it's the educational outreach portion of that, and we've talked about opening that up to people other than just stewards. So it's potential that could tie in with that as well. All right, any other questions about what we've got going on this year? And if you wanna send suggestions, that's great. As much information as you can give us. Okay, then we will go on to the next item of old business. which is the annual report that we presented a couple of weeks ago to the city council and the mayor. That was a interesting process. I don't know if you wanted
It's really interesting.
do you wanna just talk about the process in
Yeah, for
general?
those of you that weren't there, like, for one, it was really fascinating to hear what all the boards and commissions are up to. And it's a public meeting, so like next year when we do it again, I think it's a great one to go to hear what's happening on different boards and commissions. Sounds kind of dry, but I thought it was really, actually really interesting. It was pretty fast paced because we have a lot, you have to go through, so it doesn't drag. But yeah, everybody, all the boards and commissions gave reports on kind of what they've been working on, what they wanna work on for the next year, budget requests. Had a few questions from council, here and there, but yeah, it's good, and I can report back on ours, so, mayor's putting together letters to go back to all the boards and commissions, but we meet really early in the month, so they're not quite out yet. But, everything, ours will say like, everything's good, like they appreciated all the work that we're doing, they like the work plan, they approved the budget. Are gonna use the tree fund that was recommended for the Greener City tree purchase piece of that, so that piece is in there, and I think. I wrote down notes at home, and then of course I didn't bring them, I think that was the gist of it, basically like everything's great, and just to note that we are gonna use the greener, or the tree fund for that piece of the budget.
Yeah, I actually went back and watched the meeting you guys had.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was open as well, so I got to watch. the
That's on,
meeting.
that's true, it's on Zoom if you wanna watch it.
Yeah, so I thought it was a positive process. It felt awkward because it was just the first time, but I thought it was the first time for me, but I think it was the first time for
It's the first time in the whole process.
So
Oh, and then, so there's that meeting, and then the very next city council meeting is us talking about that meeting, so if you wanted to hear like what the discussion was like, that would be good, like.
caring. Yeah. And hopefully. Maybe what. I don't know, I would like to somehow talk a little bit more about like. What goes in here? And maybe it was just because it was a new process, but I felt like,
Well, and
I
now
like
you
a
have
lot
like examples from all the other
Yeah.
boards and commissions too, that you
Yeah.
can kind of see like how did they do it.
yeah, I think
Some
that
are
would
longer
be
and some
great.
are shorter. There's it's all like, that documentation is out on the website too. If you
Okay.
went to the meetings and agendas and found that meeting, it would be
Okay,
there. It might be someplace else too, but it would definitely be there. If you can't find it, let me know, I'm happy to
okay,
dig it up for you.
that would be great to
Yeah.
see that.
So is this something you'll be doing next year as well?
I think so, yeah.
I think we're gonna be required to do it every year to request our budget.
I have two inputs if you're interested. I thought it'd be interesting to say what year the commission was established in, just so people know how long it's been going. And then, let's see, after the first full sentence, about the high standards, I thought another purpose, as someone who's just been on the committee a few months, is educating citizens to mention that as well,
Well, and
or
this,
informing.
this I pulled directly from. The documents in the ordinances that describe what our commission does. Which I thought also is another question I have, like. It sounds like some groups, or it sounded like some groups to me, kind of wrote their own.
Very much discourage that.
Okay, that's what I would imagine.
This is already written,
Right,
this is
it
what
is what it is.
council historically wants each board and
Okay.
commission to do, so there's no need to do your own
Good,
mission and vision.
great.
Yes.
So they shouldn't add that about informing and educating.
Well, in that section, you can certainly talk about that, that's an important thing to the commission, but I wouldn't change that paragraph.
And
So not even add the year there.
well, it's somewhere in there,
It
I
can
didn't
still
write,
write in the report, I just wouldn't write
Right.
it in the part that's pulled out of the ordinance.
Gotcha.
Cause we won't be changing the word, I mean,
Right.
I don't see that we'll be adding ordinance to add it, so if we want those to match, I would put that information. Someplace else is thinking it's valuable to have.
Yeah, and some people just talked about that. To the end of presentation, they said, you know, we've been around doing this for this long, so I think that's also something we could get in the presentation. Right, exactly. So you guys, I hope you remember seeing you drafted this at the last meeting. I know I had bad copies of things, but I do have. I think I sent you the final version as well. I got an extra copy here, if anybody wants to look at it tonight, but I thought what we could do. Maybe, maybe you guys could help me decide what to do. I was thinking we could go through each one of these priority points. And thinking back now, so the priority points, I can just kind of read what they are. We had, items related to tree preservation and, the ordinance is there, so it says tree preservation ordinance is priority. Working group will evaluate current tree protection ordinances and recommend modifications to increase the survivability of mature trees and preservation of the community forest. I know that's something that we've all talked about, you know, it being an important issue. We see the loss of trees, and that's kind of how Green Our City was born, you know, to try and do something in the near term rather than a long term, because I think changing ordinances or reviewing codes, that's gonna take a process to change. It's not gonna change overnight. So that I think would just be a subcommittee of us, and with maybe one subcommittee leader just kind of leading that effort. And that was something I'm very interested in doing, but I'm sure Joe is interested in doing that as well, and I don't know who else might be. The next item was engage and participate in the comprehensive plan update process. And that's gonna be, I think hopefully we're all gonna do that as citizens. There was an opportunity already. I sent you guys that survey. I hope you all fill that out, because we're not gonna have another chance to build a comprehensive plan it's closed now.
I tried to.
I did. Good,
Yeah,
good
I
job.
did it for a couple of weeks, but it just.
Yeah, okay. So there's gonna be other opportunities to engage, so don't miss those opportunities. And then I think we're gonna probably be invited back to the commission to participate again, which I went to that, and I just think we need to really take those opportunities seriously, and anybody can engage in that. And, you know, at some point, we might wanna make recommendations that we write and formalize as a committee, you know, we think these things should be part of the comprehensive plan. I don't think that time has come yet, because it's gonna be a 1.5 year long process, so. I kind of feel like we're gonna be working on that as the year goes on.
I think that's great, and I think the other thing with, when I was filling out the survey, I was like. Just thinking, you really have to say the things that you just assume everybody knows, cause somebody's gotta say it. So, you know, trees, dark skies, like whatever things, pollinators. That you as individuals and commission members feel are important, I would put it, like, every chance you have to get that into. The data that they're collecting, I would take, just so that it just, the people who are helping us, the consultants helping us, see how important that is, and don't just assume that, like, so they know that pollinators are important to Webster, like,
Everybody hates to see trees come down.
yeah.
Do you know our other commissions, I mean, it's so early in the process, our commission's going to be. Right.
I don't know, like, I don't know what that kind of process is, but I know that they'll like be involved, like, it's on your plan. Which council approved, like, yes, we do want that to be involved, plan commission, historic preservation, it's on like a number of different. Boards and commissions plans for the next year is to be involved in that, and council's supportive of all of that. We want that input and expertise.
The next priority is related to native plants. And I just, these like task force, I just kind of being a working group, will review the current ordinances related to use of native plants and invasive plants as well, like how can we minimize that? Do we need to do education around that, even if I didn't go ed thing? But perhaps identify, these are all just big goals, you know, right? Like these are dreams for the year. Identify invasive species existing in public rights of way and provide recommendations for treatment and removal of those things. Thinking about pear trees in front of straws.
Yeah.
And then the educational component of that.
Well, maybe a speaker for the series dedicated to that. The native plant gardening is different, you know, it's also a lot easier, if you're busy. 'Cause stuff doesn't die.
Yeah, I think. Oh,
It
What-
just disappears, doesn't come back.
I think what the approach was for in the past, we've been very, I think. That's not the right word to say. I want us to be able to make an impact on long-term.
No, I understand,
things.
you know, I know people have dedicated tons of money to their beautifully landscaped yards. I understand that, you know, I appreciate that, but it's time for a sort of a mind shift about what you're doing on the actual soil that you have any control over.
Well, it's time for us, I think, to help the city understand
Yes.
that in public rights of way or parks or,
Right,
you know, that even where they can make an impact through ordinances and codes changes can make an impact on residential property or commercial property. So this is like not just, would it be nice if we all planted native
No,
plants, like,
because that's not possible or even realistic to, you know, to talk about that, but there, you know, there are other things like where the water flows, how you can manage that. Even if you have to deal with your neighbors, crappy runoff that they're not doing anything about, I mean, there's ways to do this, I think.
so I think looking at, you know, both of these things, this tree preservation and the native plant task force are about looking at the way the city looks at those things and the opportunities for the city to.
Is it the state that this year made it no longer legal for nurseries to sell certain plants?
Yes. It's
So
either
like
3 or 5.
highlighting that and maybe getting a little more growth in that. Not only those 3, but also don't sell these 3.
Well, and
Well, we
can,
won't be able to do that. I know we won't be able to locally say you can't sell these in
No, there was
your
a statewide initiative.
state, but I know that as a municipality, the state will not let us make our own rules like that. We can, of course, have to follow the state ones, but we couldn't say like in our nurseries in Webster, you also cannot say, so.
you know, to me, it's more about like, look at the recommended plant list or the plants you can't plant by the city, and let's make sure burning bush and pear are on there and that the city is also not planting those things, or that they've got a plan, like, let's help them put a 5-year plan together for removing all the invasive plants that are left in the public right of way. I don't know if that's realistic, you don't know, but anyway, but
Could be.
more of like making recommendations to the city about things that could fundamentally help that shift, right?
Yeah, because the city is the leader here, so.
And there are old people this is something I learned at the first comprehensive plan meeting, which I'm surprised I didn't know before, but you know, developers come to
Oh.
Webster, but they're only doing what they're allowed to do.
Exactly,
Right? So it's up to people like us to talk about that. So if to make recommendations, not just talk and complain, but like, let's,
yeah, rock solid
Oh.
things that you can actually deal with,
right?
physical changes. Yeah,
So that's where both of those, the tree preservation ordinance and the native plant task force sort of evolve around those things and the green spaces of the city.
I have some input here.
Yes, please.
the city already has very explicit ordinances about invasive plants. That are ticketable offenses. That anyone with this list of invasive plants, including businesses in Webster, that have them on their property, can be ticketed. And they would have to pay a fine for having those plants, but that's not enforced. As far as I know. Right,
Like all other code enforcement things.
right. So
Well,
if
first there needs
we
to be a
actually want
complaint,
to
right? I mean-
use the ordinances as they're intended, we would have to get complaints or start submitting complaints ourselves, which would be fun.
I mean,
So who would like to go report half the businesses in Webster with me?
so I will say, that it is also not a bad tactic to talk to property owners before you.
Yeah, that's what I say.
That's why you have a nice eco-ed series about that, raise awareness before you start
Yeah,
really
it's
putting
not-
screws
Yeah.
in people. That's
Well,
what it
and-
is. Give them a chance.
Right, but, so, that input, like, bringing to everyone here, or whoever's on the subcommittee, attention that there's already this list. How, the city already says it's bad to plant all these and you shouldn't plant them. Then is there like an outreach component where we make a plan to say, we're gonna reach out to these people who have these trees who could be cited and say, listen, you could be cited, here's why, give them information about why. So I think it's like the multiples.
Do you have
That
an
process.
initiative that's kind of like Greener City, but it's like uninvasive or
Right,
Yeah.
that's what this is
city, and
about.
once a year you go out and you
Yeah.
can sign up and you go and get the honeysuckle and the pear trees and
Yeah.
whatever else off their property.
Or
replace
we just
it with something
educate
better.
them about,
Or a mix,
I select me way more. I'll go for it. Half the businesses in Webster. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I'm usually with you, but I think a different approach.
They're public.
but but also looking at like low hanging fruit, right? Like the pears outside of
Yes.
Straw, those are city trees. So we've talked about getting a grant and we actually, I talked to the folks at NBC, they're still willing to give us money for that project, but we gotta. I think that project would fall on this task force. We've gotta like keep the momentum and kind of pushing Public Works a little bit to do the right thing there.
They're down to about 5 people right now, so it's not that it can't happen in the future, but. Realistically, so they get fully staffed, because I think they have 3 positions.
Do they?
Right now, so I like that.
What's the next step in that grant? Like, where are we to get it resubmitted and stuff like, are we waiting on?
I just have to
information from
check
public?
with Mark to see if the funds are.
He
still-
said they're not available in the current year, they're deciding that, so it will need to be resubmitted.
Okay.
Which,
And I'm not saying they need to do that, I'm saying maybe there's other opportunities, other grants. I know that Dr. Peoples, like, if there's grant money, we can figure out a way to make some of these things
Fund the whole
happen.
thing with minimal public works.
Right. So
So I also wonder if like, cause now we have the new deputy city manager, who's
Same.
kind of
Renee,
Renee with Public Works and planning especially. And so maybe getting this drops grant ready for the next cycle would be something that. I mean,
yeah, maybe she could.
it's not my decision to make, but like, I could see how that might be a good fit with where she
Well,
is.
and that's kind of, I get that, I don't mean to pick on Strauss or Public Works or what, but like if this group could think about finding ways.
Yeah.
And planning ways and processes to just move forward on some of those things.
doesn't MDC funding restart July 1st?
So the next year really isn't that far.
No.
No, it's like a month away.
Yeah.
Should just be a matter of changing dates, resubmit what I submitted.
One would, Yeah.
Pricing rates.
so. I think that falls in this task, this priority.
So
Um,
trees, native plants.
Comprehensive plan, and then the last group. Yeah,
Carrie,
yeah,
Yeah, back to the native plants, I just want to say a positive thing. I mean, I've just noticed over the last 2 years, the number of native plantings in Webster and around just doubled. I just think it's going to continue to do that.
That's great.
So don't know if that's, wouldn't say that's all us, but a lot, it's really building momentum with many,
Yeah.
many homeowners.
I would
And
agree.
your home is the centerpiece.
Homegrown National Park is what it's called.
Yeah, I think that, and St. Louis is really leading
Maybe that's our,
the way.
something like that, it's our new got, you know,
Yeah.
that
Maybe.
homegrown, really push the county's idea.
I brought a little show and tell that I think relates here. I'll pass this around. My printer, the color ink is low, but we went over Memorial Day to Louisiana, Missouri, to a sculpture park owned by SLU. And it had these incredible signs, like, I don't know if you can see it, there's a bunch of bird feeders there. And then here's the sign that describes birds, the birds you'll see. And this one talks about trees, and they were metal, so really long lasting and pretty darn impressive. And I even thought that some smallish thing could go in front of Straub saying, resting here are the old pear trees, and now we have these.
Yeah, I think that's great. That was something we had talked to NBC about, doing some sort of signage with that. And we can talk more about it later, but actually we've gotten funding to do some signage for a particular project related to native plant task force. So that charge would also fall on that subcommittee.
A few years ago, MDC funded an exact same type of project at Blackburn Park along Jackson Road.
The signage.
No, where we took out, I think there were 17 raccoon pairs. You should see what that looks like now. It's a complete habitat, the trees, and there's the understory. And it's beautiful, Carrie Point. It really, it looks great. Those trees are really getting mature.
On Jackson.
Then the last priority in the work plan is something we've been talking about for a while, and I know Jeannie expressed interest in this particular piece, but trying to find grants for stewardship for some of these spaces. That kind of goes back to a conversation we've had for a really long time about these native gardens, and we built new native gardens, and maintaining them is you can't not maintain them. And we want I think that's your phone, Emily.
Sorry, it's me. It might be Scooby Doo, even though it's not mine.
And Yvonne has talked about, trying to find grant funding for, some of these cleanups of invasive and managing some of these more native ecosystems. So that's what that priority is about. Looking for and maybe applying for stewardship funds somehow. And I just found a grant opportunity. Did I tell you about that? I think it was through AmeriCorps. I'll find it for our next discussion.
A volunteer coordinator would be wonderful.
That's kind of what this position was. Like, you could apply to get grants to have a volunteer coordinator. And that's that would be like big time if this
Oh, that would be pretty.
group could coordinate that, which is a lot of coordination to go through that process. And work with the city, at their pace, because everybody's got a lot to do. So that's sort of the last priority that we defined in the plan. And then you'll see the budget kind of aligns with that. But the thing that I think is most cool about the budget is the educational outreach line item and the native plant task force line item. And the educational outreach kind of, I think, goes along with, both the native plant task force and the tree preservation ordinances, as well as green our city. So I know that's a lot to go through. I don't know if you guys want to maybe. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think about what we have laid out and ahead of us? And then like a next step, I was kind of hoping we could break down this group into these subcommittees that would focus on these priorities. But I guess time for feedback for me would be great if you guys can give me some feedback, maybe not necessarily specific about each one of these, but if you have some brilliant idea, that would be great, but maybe just like what our next step should be. Should we, if you guys wanna like chew on this and then come back and subdivide and any initial thoughts?
I think the report is very well written, thank you. I myself need more information about what this entails and I don't know if I would be glad to work with you and support you in doing that, so we could discuss it more. I don't feel able to discuss it right now, because it feels too big and new.
Well, if you wanted to focus on a single objective for grant making, I would love to look for a volunteer coordinator, because that actually would be a critical person for, all the open areas, even the tree planted places.
Have any initial comments or thoughts?
Checked my email and couldn't find a copy of the document. Could someone pass me the?
I'm sorry, last week, I think that's okay, the front desk needs instructions on how to look it out here. That was, I just wanted to say, just let me go back and.
Does
I
anyone
do it.
else need to see this, the copy that Carrie brought?
Yes, struggle with the tree.
Well,
Maybe something tables the next meeting, let everybody just kind of think about where they may see
yeah,
themselves.
fitting, resend it,
Yeah,
that's the
reset
way
it,
to go.
revisit.
I think what I would kind of hope for is that we might have a champion for each one of these priorities. And then I, along with that champion, could work toward progressing that initiative or that priority. Even in the beginning, like, what does progress look like? What are some big goals related to this? So they definitely, Jeannie, like you said, they all need further discussion. And I wouldn't plan on just like dropping this on somebody's lap, these priorities. Because, well, some of you are kind of new, so you haven't heard the conversations of the last 10 years, or 9 years. And we just have a lot, I think, to learn too. Like Corin pointed out, the invasive plant and ordinance that already exists. I think there's gonna be a lot of educating ourselves as we get.
Yeah, I think so, especially, I mean, I had no idea there was actually a list.
Yeah,
And
there's
you know,
some
there
basic-
is a history for a native plant initiative that I know about in Blackburn Park. Was taking out the honeysuckle from the bird sanctuary area, because it created a huge public hue and cry. I mean, it was just, people were just outraged that all this greenery was going to be removed. And the area would just be destroyed, it wouldn't be pleasant, beautiful, it would be good for the birds, blah, blah, blah. And it took an incomprehensible amount of time, to kind of get it done, but the city did it anyway, in spite of the screaming and the outcry, and of course, today it's a fabulous spot.
Yeah.
It was semi-fabulous, has a few problems. But I mean, stuff, but anyway, the city just did it, so I'd love to know what that process was, how did they do that?
Well, if it's the right thing to do, who
Well,
can
yeah.
argue it?
Oh,
I mean,
true.
to a conclusion.
True.
So that's the way I look at it. If you know in your industry that this is the state of the industry, like
Yeah.
Liberty Bradford Cares. I knew there would be a lot of people up in arms about all of a sudden 17 trees are.
Oh, yeah, right.
And the only call I had was, what did I do with the squirrels? Seriously, I had Dave go up and relocate. Well, squirrels actually cohabitate in another nest, is what I found out, so if they get evicted, they'll go live with some other squirrels. Like
Call me down the street.
Yeah, it's great to know, so. it was-
That eases my mind.
I would have loved it.
But I think we're really lucky that when it comes to a lot of the public green spaces, Yvonne and her team have taken care of them, so. Yeah, I think whatever we do, we would wanna build on what you're doing, I mean. I'm not saying we're gonna try and change native plant ordinances, or I think part of that would be like, Yvonne, what is it that you think needs to be done with the ordinances?
I
What
think
is it
we add what Missouri has put forward, yeah, and then call out the noxious weeds. And the invasive species to this, that's that.
So if part of this is building on what the city's already doing, part of it is supporting and helping. Make progress how we can, just calling people and telling them. Report up.
Yeah. I'd be willing to help on that, the natives and invasives, and I'd be willing to be Emily with that. I don't know that I can champion.
No one will intimidated by their word champion.
Yeah, this doesn't change.
Or to be a co-champion, I think is what I'm saying. I'm committed to helping with each one of these priorities. And kind of leading through the process alongside with whoever really feels passionate about these things and has time to give to making these things. Starting the ball moving forward on these things.
So.
Slow motion is better than no motion, right?
My sister-in-law's a grant writer and so I can,
Okay, then.
she's like a.
So why don't you guys think about these and then if one of these is interesting to you. And I guess it's one of the three, because I think we don't really know what the comprehensive plan stuff's gonna bring, right? I'm just encouraging you to all participate as individuals, and I'll bring more to the table when I can about how we can be involved in that. So it's these other three priorities. Think about those, email me questions. We could talk about them, offline. I'm happy to have a phone call or meet about these other things. So just kind of figure out if you could think about. If you could help co-lead that priority. Those-
Hey, Carrie,
Yes,
I can throw my hat in the ring just to help write the grants. That's all we do in my labs, right? NIH grants. So just to support.
well, whoever winds up being the sort of the champion for that, I think there'll be some coordination of meeting, getting people together, like Jerry, if he's gonna do some writing for that. Having the subcommittee meeting and working on those things, so. Okay, so next, let's see, why don't we say in 2 weeks? If you're interested in email me in the next 2 weeks, and so we can have further conversation about the possibility or what it means. Code change to get one of these. So that sounds like a good approach. And then we can talk individually about it, and then at the next meeting, I can give a report on if there's been any progress made. And if we don't have, co-champions for each one of these, we can kind of just prioritize, what do we wanna do as a group first, and then, meet on that one particular priority. And, all of this is going on while we also have the Arbor Day things. Laura's gonna be sort of championing Arbor Day and the tree
Of distinction.
of distinction and this tree steward awards. And then we've still got Green Our City happening as well.
So we're not meeting in July, I see.
We last year and this year, we did not meet in July. Oh, and then also the ongoing thing is what Corin is doing with NOMO, kind of keeping that moving and bringing those issues to the table. We actually still have one more item on the agenda.
So I have a question for you. Do you have a list of the ordinances?
Yeah.
Would you share it with everybody?
I don't have it like. But I can
No.
email it, yeah.
Okay,
I'll do that.
yeah, give me that.
Actually, I commonly on the local Facebook groups, every few months, I'll put up like, hey, these are the ordinances about invasive plants in
Oh.
Webster.
I don't.
All of you guys ought to be obeying this, because you could get cited, and I tell people.
Someone
Yeah,
could.
someone could
Someone.
cite you.
Yeah, wouldn't it be
But I-
careful
but
if?
I tell everyone that they're not enforcing it, because it's true that they're not enforcing it, so no one's gonna get in trouble just because they have a bush honeysuckle. in their
No,
yard.
there's no enforcement if there's no complaint.
That's right,
Yeah.
and so far, like,
Right,
all over Webster, people have whatever they want, and that's fine, it's good, but I remind people, it would be responsible to.
I think it's really helpful that you do that, because I think that there are a lot of people that are, they're changing their yards, they.
a lot.
And not just you, but that helps, but like, there's just a lot more awareness.
In general in Webster.
Yeah,
like, people-
And well, and everywhere, obviously, if the state
Yeah.
is gonna,
And some people are rule followers too, if they hear that there's a rule.
Yeah,
against
right.
it, Like, 1 out of 4 people must be like, I'm breaking the rule, I have to follow the rule, which I think this is great.
and some people just don't know, like, they
Right.
do not.
Could
They
ever
were-
know what they have.
Yeah.
If the commissions could ever have a page on the city's website that, you could have all your initiatives lined out.
I think we
All
do,
the
I think we
separate
do have a page we could add to.
Yeah, cause a question I get a lot is resources, and we're not supposed to promote businesses out there. But we could put your Missouri Potato Garden as a link, and they can say, this is a company that does. We just can't.
Yeah, we have,
Throw
like,
data into
there's
it.
a website out there. Lists who the members are and all
For
that.
green space,
Mhm.
so I wonder,
So you
well,
could
now that we
submit
have
a
a public affairs
request
person,
to add whatever you wanted
You
to
could,
add.
you know, once you zero in on.
Well,
these
what kind of
things,
resources?
Yeah, that would, and it'll also kind of keep track of what you've been doing.
And then links to the ordinances, because the ordinances should be
That's a good idea.
on the website too, but I just Googled or invasive plant ordinance and didn't pop right up for me, so I'm sure it's there
Yeah.
somewhere, but
It's easy to find.
it wasn't easy to find.
Okay. So did you write that down, Ginger? People should email me or call and do these with questions, and we'll come back to this. Okay, thank you. Then the next item on new business is July fourth, which we could consider our July meeting, could be the community
Or we
day.
could think of the July as working and doing that email, you know, thinking about and coming up with ideas and having a communication with you, so having a private work.
Oh, actually, thank you. Had to say it twice, but I understand what you mean now. So we could do like early July, we can have the next month to talk about, to think about these things and call me and we can talk.
Yeah, get
Yes,
ideas down on paper,
Yeah.
communicate with you.
thank you. So that at the next meeting, which would be August fifth, we can have some information report. Thank you. Okay, July fourth, Community Days Parade is coming. I know
Wanna do a photo?
Change your saying.
if I float, you need or thinking of that.
I will
Do
be.
you?
What do we get? I'd be up for
If
it.
you're up for it, only if you're up,
Can you drive a stick shift?
yeah.
You don't need to, I'm just.
I totally
But we did have a new card that's stick shift.
Oh,
which is pretty
seriously?
nice, yeah.
Can you just wait, co-driver
I
needs to
can
drive a stick too.
I can drive a stick.
That we
I can
can
try
hold
to,
it.
I can try to stick.
Okay.
I'm good.
Ginger isn't.
Okay,
Or do you want a truck?
I'd rather have the tour.
I like this. Yeah.
What is, you can do what? I can try to stick.
Stick shift.
So it's a Thursday.
Yeah. I don't know, but like I
So-
get a new card or something. It's a stick.
Two cards, I'm here.
We could do one for no mow
We do,
and one for
we do.
leaves.
Oh.
So that's what I wanted to talk about. What do we want to do? It's an opportunity to educate, I feel like, but have some fun too.
It was fun last night.
No, they're.
I like that.
Cards are just fun.
Oh, it's July fourth?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what my family, I don't know, I'll check them out. Be here.
We wanna
Okay.
do a greener city thing as part of this outreach, like, seems like we've been pushing that a little bit.
I was thinking, but if that, the July fourth is gonna be after the like sign up.
Timing's good.
Unless the deadline gets extended again.
I don't know how many are, signed up.
Yeah.
And that's valid.
Yeah.
I'm not mean. Okay. Yeah,
Who watches those submissions? Like, how do you know when things got submitted?
Vera and watch it, that's
Okay.
submission.
I'm curious to see if.
If that makes a difference, me too, because it was mentioned 3 times in there.
Yeah.
I'll mention it tomorrow night, council.
Okay.
And y'all can mention it, is it tomorrow night?
But people are catching on.
Yeah, I'm
because I
going to.
get every phone call about trees and the guy I just talked to, he said, my neighbors all want trees, and I'm like.
Tell them to sign up.
Really? Why would they want one? I'm like, that's what I was thinking. Might get some more.
So, I guess we've got like 2 weeks to figure it out, what we wanna do. Because we'll need like a week to make it happen,
Right.
at a minimum.
Are we already registered with the?
No, I have not registered
Yeah,
yet.
deadline's probably coming up.
It probably
Real
is.
soon.
Oh, I wrote that down.
Is there a
Here.
theme? I didn't even.
There's no theme, I've got the information here.
Like a little Lorex outfit.
Oh.
Oh, that's cute.
Parade applications are due June
Or a ghillie
16th.
suit.
Okay,
Orange, did you hear
I'm
that?
sorry, Joe was.
just under 2 weeks.
June 16th is the application deadline.
For 4th of July?
That's pretty
Parade.
soon.
Yes, but it's less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You could just give tickets out to everybody.
You make a poster that says like, did you know it's illegal to have these things?
Oh, yeah, that'd be really good.
We're just supposed, yeah.
It's like a wanted poster for like funny stuff.
Yeah.
That's gonna be-
Okay, so we have
We
to,
should hear even.
we have to talk about the. Will you put, you could, will you put on a fake like, no, you can't impersonate. Will you, we'll put something in our calendar for like the next
Yeah,
5 days to talk about it?
yeah, we should definitely talk about
And
it.
let me know.
Yeah,
Yes.
Anybody got a ghillie suit I can borrow? Is it just gonna be us, Carrie, or is
Well,
anybody
then
else?
Ginger might pertain,
I'd
it'll be
be
gone.
willing to help with the second part,
So we should meet with.
but I would need a buddy with me, so I
Well,
need a
let's-
partner. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna be in that by myself.
Let me know,
Okay,
Andy, all
okay,
that.
I'll do it.
You will?
Yeah, well, I'll just bail out of whatever, I don't know.
Well,
I'm
I
not,
wanna take a big coffee available too.
okay, you guys
Trust me, this
think
is-
it over,
yeah, we'll talk.
we'll make a plan,
Alright.
see if we can duplicate it for another cart.
Yeah.
And then I would suggest that there be 2 people in a second cart, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
If there are 2 people in a second cart, Ginger, the 3 of us could rotate out of this.
What is a
I think.
cart? Like one of those little.
Golf
Like
cart.
that
It's-
ATV.
Oh, yeah, we'll have
There you
to
go.
figure out, check out the line.
It was pretty smooth.
That
Oh, that
worked.
worked.
Yeah.
But 2 carts with an hour, that's fine.
Yeah, so maybe get that figured out in the different rotation.
I thought it was productive last year, so I thought we should do it again if we can.
I have some ideas.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, do you wanna walk if there's only?
yeah, I've walked before.
I could, assuming I have a broken pinky toe. Assuming that's healed, I probably could.
It would only be a third of the parade that you would have to walk in if it was us 3, but if it's 4
Yeah.
of us,
Yeah,
then we could do 2 carts. Are you comfortable with? How do we apply to drive the cart?
Yeah, just let me know.
Think about another driver.
Like when I drove it when I was pregnant with Gianna, I didn't have to pass a test or anything. Is that what you're?
We have 5
Show up.
cards, but sometimes Scott wants a card, so, and then we kind of
Okay.
need to keep 1 black card, so.
Okay, well, we for sure want 1 and then we'll talk about it, and then as soon as we formulate some kind of plan, we'll reach out to you.
okay, sure.
Sounds great.
You can bear silence, you don't wanna be part of this.
I'm
I'm going out of town, I'm supposed to be in Maine July 8th, but I'm not sure when I'm driving there.
Okay,
So
you don't.
maybe, I'm interested, but I haven't really ironed out like when we're leaving.
Okay.
and how far.
We'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll be there, but it's all weird.
Alright,
Sounds great.
okay, and if there's nothing else about that, you're gonna set a meeting, we'll move on to the next.
I got one thing to add in your business.
Oh, yeah.
Should have been on the Greener City side, forgot. So I've been working with the city of Illinois and Normandy with Beyond Housing, and they're interested in doing something similar to Green Our City. Like the whole gambit, they're impressed with everything we've done here, and they want to implement it in their little municipalities, so. Share that news,
That's nice.
so,
Oh, my.
Eleanor
and city of Normandy,
Cities.
Oh,
so,
wow.
North.
yeah, up
I
in North
think I
County,
met one of those people at,
possibly did at the luncheon.
no, at the workshop at your place, the native plant fair. Oh.
Probably did,
Is there a woman,
Debbie Russo.
was she at a little table with
Yeah,
fun
yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, I met her.
So they're going to?
They're very, very interested, so this is all, they have, the city council has their little tree boards, it's similar to like our green space, but they actually have tree boards. And we've been working with them to get grants and all that stuff, but they're really interested in what we did and how we did it to engage the residents to get a tree in the right of way, so.
Oh, gosh.
It's awesome. It's the second time one of our
Initiative.
initiatives has spread to other municipalities.
Invite everybody.
So I would like to use some of the material, but like obviously rebrand it for them, but just kind of what we
Trendsetters.
have done, so.
Oh,
If they keep the same name, that'd be good too, because you could like track it.
I was gonna be like, green our community, green our city, I don't know, but.
However, you green our city, then you can trace it right back.
We've been working with them with getting grants for the conservation department and they're all interested in replanting because they see a need, because.
Oh, sure.
We're getting scorched earth up there. So we pitched to Green Our City, it's like, hey, this is what we do, here's a link on the website, and they're like, this is amazing. Like, well, it's a lot of work to get started, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
been, beneficial, and it's working, so.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Impact beyond the city, that's pretty slow.
Normandy, yeah, city of Belmore and the city of Normandy.
All right. Then we'll move on to council liaison updates.
So the big one was just reporting back from your annual report, that's the big update, the comprehensive plan, talk about that, two top W and destination WG projects are working through, get started, we'll see a timeline for the whole thing, maybe tomorrow, soon, to kind of see like what the next 5 years are gonna look like, so I'm sure there'll be lots of projects in that that will be of interest.
You are. I think we talked about that.
Staying on,
Yeah, we talked about those in our last meeting, but thank you.
good.
And she's stuck with us.
Nothing.
Perfect fit. All right, city liaison, I put that line item in the wrong place.
Oh, about
Pollinator.
If anybody wants to help out, pollinator gardens could use a little assistance. Not much, looking pretty good, but probably Ivory Crockett needs a little once over.
But probably what, say again?
Ivory Crockett
Oh, yeah.
needs some helping hands and I think City Hall looks okay. But maybe the concrete garden too, I've been trying to keep up on that, if they go
So
by.
we just show up, it's not an
Just-
organized time.
Just show up, Trinity does, deadheading and, just meeting, Ivory Crockett's a meeting. It needs to.
Jerry, you wouldn't have time to organize a little, if there's folks here to organize a meetup over there with you.
Very.
I've always said I will help, be there and lead it, but I don't know about organizing it. To whom? We've
No, I
said this
just
a
meant
couple
with,
times.
with
If you
us.
pick a date and get, 3 or 4 people, I'll be there.
Well, I think I would want you to pick a day and get 3 or 4 people.
Well, I don't know who they are. Like, who are the people? Are they part of our green space or what?
Well,
I can help.
Jeannie said maybe she would go, she just doesn't know what to do when she gets there,
Well, I'm not sure.
not sure,
I
but
could maybe determine.
but Jerry's been there and should know what needs to be done.
I can go.
And Ginger said she could help too, so that would be 3 people,
Yeah.
including you.
Take you an hour.
Like 3.
Okay.
Okay. So Jerry will reach out to you guys.
Is Ginger there?
Yeah.
Hello, yeah, I'm
Oh, okay, I can say, why don't you email me and the others and anybody else, and then we'll find a date that works for us. Cause I can do it anytime.
All right,
So if you wanna help with that, email Jerry
Okay,
You guys.
right
send out-
away.
If you guys find the date, you send it to the rest of us, just
Sure,
in case
that's a good
I'm
idea.
free, I'll pop in and join it.
Excellent.
Could I just propose a date and see if it works?
yeah,
You can try that.
Saturday the 15th?
Oh, no.
I'll be out of town for Father's Day weekend.
We'll email them.
Doodle.
It was launched.
It was worth a shot.
Anything else, Yvonne? No. All right, then I think I will adjourn the meeting, our next official meeting is August 5th, 5 PM right here. We will have an unofficial meeting on July 4th at about 10 o'clock.
So work groups on the side.
Looking forward to it.
All right, well, and I will officially adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. I think that will.
Thank you.
Carrie, do you need this back?
We'll get a lot of information on it.
You guys for reference, I've got mine. You've got mine.
sure.
I didn't mean to.
I like to say,
Yeah. Belmore, Normandy.